Registering as an independent and showing up to work with the title of independent is a reflection of who I've always been. And it's a reflection of who Arizona is.
It may, in fact, be Kyrsten Sinema's true rationale for switching parties, but I think she's also leaving out a pretty big part of the equation. That becoming an independent also helps head off any Democratic primary challengers in 2024. And that's a big problem for her, at least it was. As I pointed out on Friday, Sinema is not popular among Arizona Democrats. I mean, astoundingly so. But as an independent, she can force Democrats to decide whether to field their own candidate for Senate in 2 years and risk splitting the vote, which could tip the seat to a far-right Republican like, God forbid, Kari Lake. Well, now the most likely Democratic primary challenger says he may still run against her in 2024. Arizona Congressman Ruben Gallego. He's a Marine, veteran of the Iraq War, has not been afraid of a fight during his time in Congress. He was first elected to represent Arizona's 7th district, which includes parts of Phoenix, has had fairly public verbal brawls with some Republicans. And on January 6th, famously helped his colleagues on the House floor after rioters breached the building. Gallego spoke later about how his military instincts kicked in that day.
I was ready to fight. I saw a lot of back in my day, but I was not going to die on the floor of the House of Representatives. Like, I was not going to get taken out by some insurrectionist bastard. My plan was to stab somebody in the eye and in the throat and take away their weapon and fight to survive.
And Congressman Ruben Gallego joins me now. Congressman, it's good to have you on the program. I know you've been asked this before, and you've been a little cagey, so I'll ask you again more directly. Right now, if you had to choose, would you run for Senate?
Well, right now, what I'm choosing to do is to put the team together so I can make the decision. I've been putting together a great team. I think that will help me get in the right direction. I am a Marine first, Congressman second, and Marines we prepare, and that's what I'm doing right now.
Were you surprised by Sinema's announcement?
Not really. I thought she was going to do this eventually. Look, she claims to be independent. That's not the case. The case is that she can't win a primary against me, and this is her only option. And more importantly, she really has just abandoned the values of Arizona. And her being independent has nothing to do with the values of Arizona. It just means that she has an easier time to run, and she could go and talk to her friends in Wall Street and the pharma companies. But at the end of the day, she long ago abandoned Arizona when it comes to representing their values.
Did you serve with her in Congress, right? I mean, you were in the same delegation. I'm just curious what your relationship with her is like. Have you spoken about this at all?
Well, I've known her since my mid-20s. We both worked on campaigns together. We were in the State House, State Senate together. We're in Congress together. I've supported her on every election. But she has really stopped talking to me and other Democrats, elected officials, which is not a problem. The problem is that she hasn't talked to any Arizonans. Everyday Arizonans she has avoided. She has not had one town hall in 3 years. She's more likely to meet with lobbyists than she is with a constituent. And at the end of the day, again, she doesn't have to talk to me. I'm just an elected official. The fact is she ignores Arizona. She ignores our values, what we stand for. And I think that's why she is in the predicament that she is right now, where she has to run because she can't win a primary.
Yeah, it does seem her favorability ratings among Arizona Democrats. I think the latest polling we had her at 30%. 36% among Republicans, 41% among independents. What's striking there is that it's not actually a very good overall favorable rating. It's not like she's like crushing it with independents or Republicans either. It's sort of low across the board. It's 37% favorable, 54 unfavorable. Right. The calculation here does seem a kind of game of chicken, which is this. Okay, I can't survive a Democratic primary. If I run as an independent, you possibly split the vote and you pave the way for a Republican to win. I know you seem confident that's not going to happen, but it is a state where that's the kind of thing that seems like could happen, given how narrow and closely contested the state is.
Well, number one, I don't scare easily. Never have and never will. Number two, the math doesn't prove that's true. Republicans have not been able to hold their coalition for the last 3 cycles. And they're not going to be able to do it again. At the same time, we have a lot of Latino voters that I think are going to stick with the Democratic Party. And lastly, I don't see Democrats, Republicans, or independents rushing towards someone who, stood up for pharma when we were trying to negotiate the, drug price benefits, who fought for hedge fund managers, which are nearly non-existent in Arizona, instead of really trying to fight to bring the price of insulin down. Those aren't Arizona values. Those aren't independent values. They're not even Republican values. So unless there's somehow a big influx of Wall Street lobbyists to move to Arizona, I don't know where her base is going to come from.
How likely is the state, or how complicated are state ballot access laws? I mean, is this going to be something she's able to sustain, build an organization, and have a proper campaign and be on the ballot?
Look, I can't tell you that. She has to run her own campaign. I know, for example, we've been talking about this, but we had a lot of support just this weekend at WW Gallego for Arizona. We had an amazing amount of people donating money, volunteering their time, and we're not even close to, doing a full announcement. I don't think she can have that. No one gets excited about someone who's, fighting for the rich and trying to malign the poor. That's not really in anybody's DNA. That's not, again, not even Republicans' DNA. So I don't know where it's going to come from, but that's not my job to figure it out. That'll be her job to figure it out.
You mentioned a few specific policy areas that you object to. There's reporting that she was key in lobbying to maintain what's called the carried interest loophole, something that the Democrats had wanted to zero out. In fact, Joe Manchin had supported zeroing it out, and she was a key figure in making sure that didn't happen. Hedge fund managers can still pay very, very low rates if they get their income defined essentially as carried interest, as well as protecting a big class of drugs that Big Pharma was lobbying very hard for. Are there other areas, like, for instance, the minimum wage? She famously voted thumbs down on raising it to $15 an hour. Are there other specific areas where, as you've watched her votes or her public policy positions, where you object to them?
Well, look, I think the first thing that you owe as an elected official is to be responsive, right? I think it's a mortal sin that you've been in the Senate for 3 years and have yet to have one town hall, unscripted town hall. When you have more meetings with lobbyists that are fundraising for you than you have with your citizens that have elected you, I think that's a problem right there. Number two, when you claim to have been a friend and a compatriot of John Lewis, and you have voted for him repeatedly for Speaker of the House, and then you use a Jim Crow era law rule of the Senate, the filibuster, to stop some very necessary reforms, especially after a coup, I think that's another step right there. I think that just really put people, and a lot of voters, and myself, in a very hard position. And lastly, again, talk to your constituents. You owe it to them. We're here for them. We're not here for the lobbyists. We're not here for the big donors. I know that's what I'm going to do when I come home over the holidays. I'm going to listen to them. As a matter of fact, I actually have a telephone town hall tomorrow, unscripted before all this happened, and I'm going to listen to them. And that's how I'm going to make my determination about my future. And I think she should try that.
All right, Congressman Ruben Gallego, thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you.